All right, Hector Braha, so good to see you, my friend. Thanks for being with us here and with this wider conference of folks from around the country connected to the Episcopalian Church. It's a gift to be with you. Hector, you and I have been friends here at the border. I live in San Diego, you in Tijuana, and now in LA part-time. Give a little more into who you are and a bit of your story.
Sure. Well, my name is Hector Barajas Varela. I was born in Mexico. I came to the United States at a young age, eventually joined the military with a green card. Unfortunately, I didn't process my citizenship. I served about 6 years, got an honorable discharge, served with the 82nd Airborne. And unfortunately, after I got out of the service, I ended up being involved in an incident where there was a shooting, and I ended up going to prison. I thought I was going to do my time like any other veteran, and parole. Unfortunately, immigration picked me up, and I was deported in 2004, snuck back into the country, started a family, and then got deported again in 2009, actually 2010, and ended up in Tijuana, and that's where pretty much I started my advocacy and connecting with groups and people, and I decided I wanted to do things the right way as far as coming back to the United States, and I thought it was going to be an easy walk, but it was a long 10 years and actually 14 years of deportation. Eventually, I got a pardon from Governor Brown, and I had started the process for citizenship probably about 2 years beforehand, but the pardon pretty much just cleared my criminal record, and by law, I was able to become a naturalized citizen on April 13th of 2018.
And I'll never forget giving you a hug in San Diego. We had known each other for many years at this point, and met so many times where there was no hope for you it felt like no hope for you to be back in the United States as a citizen. And our embrace at downtown San Diego at that ceremony was sacred ground. I'm so grateful for that. I think a lot of people that are listening in are probably thinking, wait a minute, Hector was in the U.S. military and he got deported. How is that even a thing? How is that possible? Would you interact with that a little bit?
Sure.
Understand?
So what happened in 1996? They changed the law where judges wouldn't have discretion over deportations, and if you committed what was considered an aggravated felony, which could be really anything from writing a bad check to something serious, and basically veterans were not exempt from that beforehand. The judges would see your case, and sometimes, depending on the situation, they would say, okay, well, they would look at you served in the military and you served honorably, and they'd let you stay in the country. But after 96, it was just like you broke the law and you would get deported. So another thing that happens is while you're in the military, although there is a process for citizenship, there really isn't a program that or somebody that follows every green card resident to make sure that they become a citizen or that they're informed. So I think that's very important. That's one of the things that we're trying to push for, so that somebody takes care of you while you're in the military. People say, well, we're not there to hold your hand, but yeah, we hold your hand on how to march, how to fire weapons. So why not hold that person's hand to make sure that they do their paperwork? It's just about taking care of your soldiers and your people.
That's right, especially when you're having some of these, soldiers in this situation are immigrants that might have different cultural norms, different first languages. So the learning curve there, I imagine, is significantly higher. And you mentioned but with all that being said, someone can be deported having served in the U.S. military, but at one point they are returned back to U.S. soil. Would you share about that and when that happens?
Sure. So one of the, basically anybody that dies, obviously their body could be returned to the United States if they're deported. But in our case, veterans are not only do they go back, their body's physically taken back, but then they're given full military honors, and there's a burial, there's a ceremony, and a flag is folded and it's given usually to a mother or father. And I hear the words from a grateful nation. I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. It's like the dishonor, the worst thing you can do to somebody and the family, because that's the only way their loved ones come back. And hopefully we can change those laws eventually.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, to think that while living, you're not allowed to be on the soil, but when dead, we'll accept you back and honor your memory is just, it's hard to fathom that's still a system and policy in place in this country.
What happens with the, I think and I've seen it in like many, studied a little bit of history, and it's you're good to be sent off to the to the fodder to war, but once you come back and you come back distraught, or there's medical attention that's needed, or things like that, or once you start, you become homeless or a drug addict, and then that's when stop supporting the troops, or
Right.
certain people would say, well, we're not here to help you out anymore. But while you're in, they pretty much, you're a American GI issue. They take care of you, but once you get out, that's it.
Mm. And what would you say has been the most significant challenge or struggle for you, Hector, since during that 14 years of deportation and separation from family and trying to find your way and dealing with this loss? And what's been the biggest challenge for you?
For sure, the biggest challenge was just being separated from my family, from my daughter, and it was tough. It was difficult. When you don't have those things, it's like when you have them, you're kind of taken for granted, and when you don't have them, it's like wow, you wish you could just spend every day with them, or every night with them, and so that was the most difficult part. And then secondly, I guess it was trying to advocate for ourselves in another country and trying to get people's attention to where we're at, and organizing, starting something from scratch, and really not having the resources or the people around you that that can kind of help you, guide you. But that happened eventually. I started getting people coming across the border, from Congress people to reporters to veterans, and people like you. So it's eventually that was part of the process of me coming home. People finding out that this is wrong and getting the right people involved to work on my case.
I think that's one of the most compelling, inspiring, almost unimaginable things about your story is you have every reason to be deported, having served in the U.S. military, separated from your family, to just kind of give up and say life is over and turn to things that might be harmful.
Sorry about that. Somebody was at the
We
door.
good? Okay.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
But in that moment of could have just chosen to turn in on yourself, just to focus on yourself. You chose to build a community. Okay, who are the other veterans who've been deported, and how do we build a community?
Let me get the little girl. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. Otherwise, I'm not gonna leave it alone. Hola.
So we're back here, and the question was, in one of the observations is you could have, in that moment of deportation and separation, just chosen to turn inward, look at yourself, but you said, who is the community around here of other veterans who need support? How do we support one another? How do we advocate for one another? You are contending for each other in very costly ways with very little resources. Tell us a little bit about the community you've built and where you've found hope within that.
Sure. So one thing that Yoli mentions that really strikes me is that she said that the group for her was like a what is it, like a lifesaver. Like it really kept her from maybe taking her life, or from falling into more depression. So for me, that was part of it. That it was helping others kept me busy and kept me motivated, and just so that was a good thing for me. I found another purpose. Like in the military, you have a purpose, and sometimes we lose our way. We don't, especially if you don't have a purpose, you can really lose your way. But when you find a purpose, it helps out. So I started connecting with other veterans, not just here from Mexico, but from all over the world. And I started out of my apartment, and eventually over the years, we turned into a resource center where we have anywhere from congressional visits to we help them with their VA appointments, help them get pardons with their legal aid. We do Thanksgiving dinners, toy drives, we celebrate birthdays. So we do all kinds of different things to try to make life more comfortable as well. And but also to give them hope that, this guy can go home, if I can go home, I had 2 deportations, life deportation. I was never supposed to go home, or go back to the United States. So for me to go home is like, people often message me. They're like, wow, if you can go home, then anything. And I saw other people that I didn't think were going to go home, like another vet that didn't have honorable discharge and have been caught at the border so many times. But sometimes it's just what matters is case law and certain things, and that the attorneys can find out legal ways where they can find out how to get them home. So anything's possible. You got to put some work into it, you know.
You have. It's been sacrificial. It's been costly. Those of you listening in, we've talked about the path towards restoration, towards peace requires we contend. Like we work for it, and we work with each other, and it's costly and it's sacrificial. And Hector has embodied that in his own way. He's tended for himself and this community. And I would say I got to experience some restoration with you in 2018 at that embrace, celebrating your citizenship. And you've helped bring in restoration for others who have gotten benefits, who have gotten their citizenship. Like this is a space now, a community that's fostering healing and restoration and what we would say is peace. So it's a gift to learn from you, and your story is continually inspiring and shaping us as we think about how we can live lives that are reflective of sacrifice and courage and trust. So thanks, man. Is there anything else you want to say as we part ways here?
Well, that's just, I mean, I don't know, that's, you guys say too much about me. I'm a mess, but, trying, it's, it was, I was worse at one point, the daily struggle, but, just got to keep on charging, and keep moving forward. Fall back and move forward. That's what you got to do. Yeah, and hopefully one of these days I'll get it right. Or I'll begin the process of. But if it wasn't for people like you guys and a lot of people that have been supporting our cause, or just those, those visits maybe on the weekend, on a Sunday or a Saturday, and I mean, if we didn't have those, I mean, honestly, we wouldn't have hope. I wouldn't have continued. So those are very, very important. Everybody that, from a simple message to everything that you guys did, it really helped. And I'm here today, I can go freely back and forth today because of everybody's support and efforts. And that's what we need to continue to do, is support our communities. And I always try to tell people is, if we want change, we got to look within ourselves. It affects our surroundings, and then, hopefully we can make an impact. And that's what I try to do every day. Every day.
Well, we're stumbling forward together. Thanks for being with us, my friend.